What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with your one and done pool strategy for the 2020 season. I'll be going through all the things that you need to know, including looking back at last year's results to try to give you the best strategy for this season. I'll be referring to the Gups Corner One and Done, which is basically the largest one and done pool on the internet. That is the rules I'll be using. In fact, there are new rules for this year, including the fact that it is now a single entry contest. It is a $50 entry to get into this pool, and I'm giving away 2 of those entries. So there are 2 ways to enter a draw to win a free entry into the Gups Corner One and Done. Way number 1, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, the RickRunGood YouTube channel. Like this video and leave a comment below. Say something nice. Or additionally, you can go over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review on this podcast, DFS On Demand. I'll link it in the video description as well. 5 stars, say something nice about the show. I will pick one winner from each one of those. Hey, go ahead and do them both. Double your chances of winning the entry into the contest. All right, lots to talk about, so let's get into it. All right, the one and done contest in the golf world, to me, is kind of like the gold standard for season-long pools or contests or things like that. If you are brand new to the contest, it is very, very simple. Every week, you choose one golfer. However much money the golfer earns in that tournament is how many points you get. The person who has the most points at the end wins the pool, and also you can only use that golfer one time, hence the one and done. Very simple. So if I use Tiger Woods at the Masters and he wins $2 million, I get 2 million points, and I cannot use Tiger again for the rest of the year. Very, very simple. And because you only have to make a pick once a week, it's pretty easy to handle, a lot of fun. Now, specifically about the Gups Corner One and Done, which I mentioned, I believe it is like the largest one and done on the internet. I'm not sure of another one. It might pay something like $15,000 to first. Now, this year, it used to be a 3-entry max. It is now a single entry of $50, so that might influence the payouts a little bit. But you can also win via different segments. So you can have the most money at the end of the year, or the season is broken up into basically 4 segments. The first 9 events, the second 9 events, the third 9 events, and the fourth 9 events. The 4 segments, if you win any one of those or finish in the top, whatever it ends up being, 10, 15, it depends on how many people are going to enter this contest. You can win that way. And then the new thing is, you used to also be able to win on the majors. So they'd add up the money that you've earned in all 4 of the majors. This year, there are 8 events. It's the majors, the players, and the 3 WGCs. That's the 5th segment. So you can win any of the 5 segments or the season long. That is the way that you return your money. The other changes are you're also going to pick an opposite field event. So in previous years, for like the Open Championship, what's opposite of the Open Championship? The Barracuda Championship. That you would not pick the Barracuda. You will this year. So there are 4 opposite field events. It's the Puerto Rico Open, Corrales, Barracuda, and Barbasol, which are usually opposite of majors or WGCs. You will make 2 picks that week. And then this will end before the Tour Championship. The Tour Championship was included last year. It is not included this year. It will end at the BMW Championship, which changes your strategy just a little bit because you don't have to necessarily hold a guy to the end that you think is going to be in the top 30. Now you go to the BMW Championship. It opens your field up a little bit. There's 75 guys that are going to make it. You probably don't have to necessarily hold on to someone because there is going to be someone in the field for you. For example, last year, you could have made 30 picks and not had anyone. Technically, you could have not had anyone in the field for the final tournament. That's not going to be the case this year. And then additionally, there's something that I don't have as much clarification on this. It says in the rules there's a skins game aspect to this, meaning that if you are the only person who picks a winner in a single week, you get a skin. And then at the end of the year, whoever has skins receives some portion of the payout. I don't know what the numbers are. This to me, I read it a couple times. I thought anyone who picked a winner would get a skin. That does not appear to be the case. You have to be the only person who picks a winner in a week, which I think only happened like once or twice last year. There was a week where 2 people had the winner, but that would not qualify for a skin with the way that I'm understanding the rules. So if you're the only person who gets a winner in a week, you might win the skins game because it might not happen again for the rest of the year. All right. And then finally, before we hop into the tools and a lot of the strategy to go along with this, just to kind of put this into perspective, there's going to be at least probably 3,500 people in this contest. I think there was 3,600 in it last year. I expect it to grow, but also with the number of entries coming down that each person can put in, I don't know how that's going to influence things, but let's just say there's going to be 3,500 or 4,000 people in this. To win it, you're going to have to be really, really good, okay? The winner last year earned $14.3 million over 32 events, which would have been about $446,000 per event. To get in the top 10%, so the 350th place person earned $8.6 million over 32 events, which would have been about $268,000 per event. So that's kind of the numbers you're looking for. Anywhere from 200,000 to 500,000 a week, you are in serious business. You're going to have to hit a couple of winners throughout the year. Try to not to miss the cut often, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the strategy that I employed last year that I think worked well. I'll show you the new tool for this year, which I'm super, super stoked about. And I actually do have the results from last year, so we can talk through kind of what a winning strategy would be. I will say this before we do that. I had 2 entries last year, which I'm not going to be able to do this year. I had an entry that before the season started, I went through and assigned everyone a spot. And I basically made my lineup for the entire year in January or in December. For a long time, like until the last month of the season, that lineup was better than the lineup that I picked every single week. And I sat down and said, okay, who am I going to choose this week? A couple of things about that season-long build. I love the process of that. I thought it changed the way I looked at one and done pools when I sat down to try to assign 32 or 36 golfers beforehand, because you really have to emphasize like where you want to use. Hey, I want to use Rory at a major. Which major? I want to use DJ at a major. Which major? And then trying to like work your way backwards from there. Also trying to figure out who is going to play where. I think there were only 2 times last season where a guy that I had slotted into that tournament didn't end up playing it. So I had to swap him out there. So I did a pretty good job of it. It was a really good thought process for me. And what I think it stops you from doing is you don't have that week to week bias. So when I'm picking week to week and a guy who I might have liked in this event, maybe he missed the cut the week before and now I'm going to stay away from him. I didn't have any of that recency bias because all of my guys were already slotted in. So I don't know if I'm going to take that approach this season. I will probably do a little hybrid of that. I might just like take half the events, the big events, something like that, and slot my guys in where I want them, and then kind of go week to week to see about filling in the other events and like the alternate events and things like that when the field actually gets released. So really good thought exercise for you. I encourage you all to do it. And the tool that I have here would help you do this. So let's go over and check this bad boy out. This is the first time I'm really showing it. I have a tutorial video. This is going to be live. This will be live on DFS On Demand by the time you see it. And what you'll be dropped onto is basically in-depth golfer profiles. And what I like about this is I've calculated the expected value for every single golfer for every single tournament. So the way that this works is this is a really good calc. And I actually think it's way better than the calculation I had last year, where what this is going to take into account is how a golfer is playing recently. And then also, more importantly, I've actually loaded in all of the purses for every single one of these tournaments. And I've loaded in, all the payout slots, right? Like first place is going to get you 1.2, second's going to get you 500,000, whatever they are. I've loaded them in for every tournament. And basically, using each golfer's history, running simulations of range of outcomes. So if we say if you play this tournament 1,000 times, Justin Thomas is going to win it 12% of the time. Well, 12% of the time he's going to get the full prize, right? He's going to get the $1 million prize. But 20% of the time he's going to miss the cut, so he's going to get 0. So when you start doing the expected value and running this over infinity, you get an expected value for each tournament. So that's what I've done. And this will change as the year goes along because his stats are going to change, right? All of the other, like the purses won't change, but all the other variables that go into this are going to update these expected values. So as we get more tournaments, these are going to change. So if you're looking at this on the video, every single tournament, Justin Thomas, who is who we have checked off here, has an expected value. And you can see, of course, the bigger events with the bigger purses, the Players Championship, which is a $12.5 million purse. His expected value there is $420,000. It's 416 at the U.S. Open, which is again another $12.5 million purse. So what I would encourage you to take away from this is, yes, of course, there are going to be weeks that like the bigger prize pools, he's going to have a larger expected value, but something like this, like 350,000 for JT at WGC Mexico is not that far off from the $415,000 expected value at the US Open, where basically you can play some of these guys, and we saw it last year. Rory went out and won the RBC Canadian, right? Like, he would have been 6-1 in that field, and while it is a smaller first prize, he has a better chance of winning that than maybe the US Open, where it is just an absolute star-studded field. So this allows you to go through and look at each one of these tournaments and be like, okay, do I want to use Justin Thomas where everyone's going to use him, which is probably, I don't know, PGA Championship, US Open, something like that, or do I use him at like a WGC, small field, no cut, very close in expected value? I can be a little bit different. So that's what I encourage you to keep in mind. This expected value, it is calculated for every single tournament. Of course, Justin Thomas is not going to play every single tournament. So what I've done is I've given you the ability to come through here and actually choose which tournaments you think Justin Thomas is going to play. And so you can click each one of these segments here. And I've also listed the events that he played last season. Obviously, just because he played it last season doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play it again this season, but it's at least a good starting point. So if I'm looking at Justin Thomas and I say, okay, I think he's going to play the Sony, and I think he's going to play the Farmers Insurance and Pebble and Genesis and the WGC, we'll throw in a couple of these other, obviously we'll give him all of the majors here and some of the bigger events, US Open, he'll definitely play the WGC, Open Championship, and then he'll play like the last, 3 big events of the year. And now you can just compare these events against one another. And you can see, okay, this is realistically where JT's probably going to play, something like the Memorial, where he's, expected to earn about 300,000, and the Arnold Palmer 308,000. Like, those might be good spots to play him compared to like Sony, Farmers, AT&T, Pebble Beach, where he has a much smaller expected value because the purses are smaller. So that's really interesting here. And you can, before I forget, I'm offering this tool. So if you're a member of DFS On Demand, you obviously get this, but I actually have a membership that I separated this out. So you can get access to just this one and done tool. I wanted to do, it's $9 a year. I wanted to do $1 a month because I thought that would be funny and I thought it'd be cheap. But then I realized like my payment processor takes like 37 cents on every transaction. I was like, maybe not. So it's $9 a year. It is just all charged at once. But it's $1 a month basically for 9 months of the season. You can come in here and use this. And I figured, hey, you're spending $50 to get into the one and done pool. I know myself, I'm in other one and done pools. So this would be a pretty good investment for me. And you can actually change, these stats. So if I want to say, okay, right now I'm looking at Justin Thomas and his results based on the last 49 starts, with the Players Championship being $420,000 in expected value. If I go more recent, like maybe I only want to look at his last 36 starts here, you'll see, some of all of these numbers are going to change down here. So he actually loses a bit of value because, somewhere in those 13 starts that I just took away from him, he obviously succeeded well. So it will rerun all of the simulations based on the range of date range and the outcomes that Justin Thomas had in there. So if you want to go more recent, if you want to go more long-term, this also allows you to separate yourself from other people using this tool, which is something I wanted to do. In previous years, everyone was using the same results. I don't like that. So now you can kind of customize what tournaments you think he's going to play. You can customize the range that you want to see his results in, and it will update the numbers accordingly so that we're all not just like, we're not all sheep and we're not all playing the same people at the same spots. Additionally, so here's what's also interesting. I've included last year's results in this. So for example, Justin Thomas, was used 846 times, by far the most he was ever used in any tournament last year at the Sony, which makes sense because he had won it in the past. He had shot a 59 there. You have to assume a lot of people are trying to get off on the right foot. They're trying to they're trying to get a win in week one. He was used 846 times at the Sony Open. He ended up getting only $99,200. That would not have been a very successful week to use someone in the caliber of Justin Thomas. So you can kind of go through here. And of course, last year's ownership is not going to be, excuse me, it's not going to be the same exact for this year, but you'll see as you flip through some of these guys. So if I go and find Rory, all of these big guys are being used at the majors, right? So if we go down here, you'll see and the big events. So the ones where Rory was used the most, 445 times Arnold Palmer, 495 times at the Masters, 332 at the Open Championship. He didn't do necessarily all that well in any of those. He did okay at the Arnold Palmer. He missed the cut at the Open Championship. But his wins were RBC Canadian, where he was used 31 times. He won the Tour Championship, where if you save him for that long, you were only one of 24 people who got that win. And then what was his other win? Oh, the Big Players win. 182 a golfer, or 182 owners out of 3,600 used Rory there. So I'm going to show you an idea of kind of how to be. I want you to just be like a little bit different. A little bit, like, I still think you should be pretty chalky week to week, quite frankly, but I want you to be like second tier chalky. So if there's like five clear favorites in the field, all these guys are between 10 and 20 to 1 to win the golf tournament, something like that. I would kind of want you to be like just take the guy who's going to be lesser owned or who's not getting a lot of talk that week, right? They're still studs. They can still win all the time. And I'll show you what I mean in a second, but this is a really cool way to see where some of these guys were used last year. And then if you just kind of shift off of that, it makes you a little bit different. All right, and then if you head over to up here at the top, you can click the full field values. I've also broken this down by field. So obviously what I'm showing you right now is for the Sony Open, and not all of these golfers are in the Sony Open. I'm showing you every golfer on tour, but as the field comes out, I'll obviously update that. But I think it's also good to know how each tournament compares to one another. So Sony Open, that's only a $6.6 million purse. It ranks 29 out of 36 tournaments. So you might want to consider obviously not burning necessarily one of your better golfers here, because even if you get a win, it's not necessarily going to be as valuable as winning somewhere else. Now, of course, you can say someone like a Justin Thomas has a better chance of winning here than most other places. Of course, I understand that, but I just think you should be aware of the where this ranks in terms of tournaments, and then also knowing where you're at in the segment, right? If you are in the lead of segment one with one tournament to go, you might want to burn one of your bigger golfers in that last event. Try to lock up a segment win, and then see how much money you can get moving forward. So these are all the types of things that I need you to consider. And then also I've got last year's results here, so ranked by ownership and what their actual outcome was. I do just want to dive a little bit more into this idea of being slightly different. So what I've done is I don't have this on the website yet, but I've just whipped up like a really basic, really quick way to kind of look at the types of golfers that are chosen on a week by week basis. All right, so I'm hoping you can see this okay. I mean, this is very basic. I literally just whipped this up. It is, if you're not watching on the video, it is an XY coordinate scatter plot. So basically down the bottom, it shows you how often a golfer was chosen each week, how many people had him as their pick, and then up the side is how much money that golfer earned. So you can see we're looking at the Sony Open right now, and Justin Thomas, who is very far right here, by far the most chosen golfer earned $99,000. There were basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 11 other golfers that were chosen. This is not everybody in the field because not only like 30 golfers get picked every single week, but like 11 other golfers were picked significantly less than Justin Thomas and earned as much, if not significantly more. Between Justin Thomas and Gary Woodland, who earned a combined $100,000 because it looks like Woodland missed the cut. That was like a third of the field. Woodland didn't miss the cut. He must have finished like 60 something because he earned $11,000. It might as well have been a missed cut. So that's like basically a third of the field got zero money, and that's just because this is a game theory aspect here, right? Where if such a large percentage of the field has one guy, of course he's probably the best pick, but the amount of times he is going to disappoint you is not worth like he's going to disappoint you more than when he actually goes out and wins. Like, you all get the upside of that. Like, there's very little leverage in you picking the same golfer as everybody else. So I'm just gonna click through a couple of these tournaments here just to kind of give you an idea. And the red checkered line, that is going to show you the golfers to the left of that are golfers that were chosen less than 200 times. That is an arbitrary number that I chose because as I was going through this, like 200 is usually like, okay, if they were less than that, they were like either the 5th or 6th or 7th most popular golfer that week. So like 200 is the number that I chose here. And then what I've also done is I've highlighted who the winner had each week. So it's this gold one. It's the gold dot. You'll be able to see as I click through these tournaments who the eventual winner of this contest had. And what you'll notice is outside of maybe like the majors, the winner is always to the left of this red dotted line, meaning he did not necessarily play the chalk, but he did not necessarily just play like the 1% guy every single week. So let's click through a couple of these and you can see, low and to the right is going to be bad. That's going to be high owned guys that didn't make you much money. So we go to the Desert Classic and you'll see again, very popular Charles Howell III, very popular Patrick Cantlay, very popular John Rahm. Cantlay and Rahm did okay. Rahm got you like 200,000. The eventual winner did end up having Patrick Cantlay here, but guys like Adam Hadwin, who 228 golfers had, he got 500,000. I think he finished second. Phil Mickelson is here. No one had Adam Long, who actually won this golf tournament. So the highest results were, basically $500,000. And you can just kind of see, again, the high owned guys kind of disappointing here. Farmers Insurance, same thing. It was an absolute bloodbath for guys like Cantlay, Mark Leishman, Tony Finau, John Rahm, and Gary Woodland. All 5 of those were picked more than 300 times apiece. John Rahm was the best, and he got you 259,000. The rest this is all pretty disappointing. Justin Rose, who went on to win the thing, owned by 123 golfers. Like that's the range you want to be in, right? And it's going to be hard to predict, but I think before the week we would have known, hey, all of these guys, Rahm, Woodland, Leishman, Finau, Cantlay, Rose, Adam Scott, like those guys would have been fairly popular. It appeared. If you can just get the guy that not everyone is talking up. The eventual winner ended up having Charles Howell III, only got you $79,000 and was just below that $200 mark that I walked you through. Waste Management. Everyone had Hideki. Nearly 900 people had Hideki. He again disappointed. I mean, 113,000, that's fine. But when you're getting 113,000 with every other person in the contest, like that's worth nothing. It doesn't separate you in any way. I would have rather, of course, you taken Ricky Fowler with 300 other people and he got the win. But even someone like using Justin Thomas here would have been better. Because only 116 of us had him. He got you $482,000. Like, I just need you to be a little bit different. That second tier. Pebble Beach. Phil was pretty popular that week. Jason Day was uber popular. So Jason Day had like 765 owners. Phil Mickelson was 325, which is still a lot, but Day lapped him. You'll see Paul Casey would have been pretty interesting here because he was only 112 of us had him. He got you almost $1 million. So I'm just gonna I don't think we need to go through all of these. But what you'll see in this trend is a lot of these really highly owned golfers. Here's Genesis, Bubba, Hideki, DJ, Xander, Rory, all over 200, all getting you less than 400,000, and a lot of them get a lot of those guys getting you less than 200,000. It's just like it. Maybe we're not good at this. Maybe the public is not good at trying to predict this beforehand, and you get these hype trains of people jumping on the same golfer, and we just might not be good at it. But I think the evolution of that is maybe realizing we're not good at this, and then introducing a little bit of variance into our picks, right? Like don't go with everybody here. I want to go down to, I will show you like the Masters, the eventual winner, of course, ended up having Tiger. But even Tiger, there was still DJ, Rory, and Justin Rose were still way more owned, and Rose and Rory got you basically nothing. PGA Championship, of course, the eventual winner had Brooks, who was the highest owned golfer. So this is one of the few times throughout the year that the Uber Chalk, a 650 owned Brooks Koepka ends up getting you a bunch, and then DJ, who is by far the second highest golfer, came in second and got you over $1 million. So this is like the 1 week this really pays off. But as I've been clicking through a lot of these, you'll see like, look at all of these. Here's the AT&T Byron Nelson. Keith Mitchell, for some reason, got the hype train that week. Ends up going out 567 people pick Keith Mitchell, and he gets you $100,000. Like, again, we're not going to go through all of these. We're already 25 minutes into this video, so this is probably a good stopping point. But I'm hoping that this is a pretty good visual of we might not be good at picking these guys, and realizing that and being the first to realize that is going to be better off for you. So a couple of notes for this year. I encourage you to do the season long picking beforehand. It's a great little process to go through. I encourage you to be just like second tier different. You don't have to pick Sung Kang every single week, or someone like him, right? Just be a little bit different, especially in the big events. And then if you want access to this tool, if you're a member of DFS On Demand, you already have it. Also, you can get just access to the one and done tool, $9 a year. It's $1 a month basically for the season. And I'll continue to update. I want to get some strength of field stuff in there. It should be pretty cool. But where it's at right now is really where I'm proud of it. But I imagine there's going to be plenty of upgrades throughout the year. All right, that's the one and done pool. You can win. I'll pay your entry. I'll pay for 2 entries into it along with mine. Go back to the beginning of the video, subscribe, leave a comment below on the video, leave a 5-star review on iTunes. I will draw winners, and hopefully someone will take this thing down. All right, good luck. I'll talk to you guys soon.